We'll see evidence today that Mark Zuckerberg himself approved the decision to use these pirated materials. And then the best part, Meta management tried to hide it. They tried to hide the fact that they were engaged in the illegal download of pirated work. They tried to hide it by using non-company servers. They went so far as to train their AI model. Get this. Meta trained its AI model to lie to users about what data it had been trained on.
Wow.
I mean, you talk about an Inception level worthy deception.
You already know what it is. Wow. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bet. Bah. It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we got to do. You got to hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell, stay up to date with all the videos. We back with another conspiracy, technology, conspiracy type. You make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. We trying to get 1,000 comments. You know what we doing over here. Working hard, working hard. But let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's popping? Let's get it.
We are in deep shit. When I say that we are in deep shit, we are in deep shit. You see these four right here? These are CEOs, COOs from Palantir, Meta, and OpenAI, multi-billionaires who are being sworn into our U.S. Army reserves as lieutenant colonels. So Commander Bonespur and Pete Kegsbreath came up with a new detachment called Detachment 201, the Army's Executive Innovation Corps, or EIC. Last I checked, when anyone wants to join the military, they have to go through basic training, they have to go through MOS training, they also have to go through a background check to be able to obtain a security clearance, whether it's secret or top secret. But yet, we're giving these four billionaires who are in charge of monitoring our information, our data, through Meta, through Palantir, and OpenAI, we're giving them the key to our defense. They are being sworn in as lieutenant motherfucking colonels, lieutenant colonels. Whereas for some of us who actually served, it takes us years and years and years, up to maybe 25 years just to get that rank, just to be able to obtain that rank. So on June 13th, the Army announced the creation of Detachment 201, otherwise known as the Executive Innovation Corps, which it describes as a new initiative designed to fuse cutting-edge tech expertise with military innovation. 4 ultra-wealthy executives from top tech companies were sworn into the unit ahead of President Trump's heavily promoted military parade, which was itself sponsored by Palantir. The Army's top spokesman declared that the Detachment 201 was being created to bring in tech innovation executive leaders to help the Army with the recruitment and the subsequent training of tech-focused people. So if it's not bad enough that we've got these 4 CEOs here that are in charge of meddling and having access to our private information, now they're going into the military and now they're going to use AI technology. This is a direct control of military innovation. This would include AI surveillance, cyber weapons, and autonomous drones. So now Trump and Pete Kegsbreath are trying to weaponize our military by the use of these super wealthy CEOs from OpenAI, Meta, and Palantir. And with the rank that they are obtaining, they have control over their subordinates, sergeants, sergeants first class, first sergeants, and command sergeant majors. They have more rank than those that have already served. And these motherfuckers didn't even go through training. This is what happens when you elect a motherfucking clown and you get a circus in return.
Do your own research. Do your own research.
I've been thinking a lot about the Apple AI presentation, and it reminds me a lot of an experience I had a few years ago. So I was doing a report about basically the nature of privacy when it comes to tech, and I referred to Apple alongside other companies, Google, Meta, the rest, as a surveillance company. And they have for a long time considered themselves to be different than those other companies. They have, privacy as sort of part of their brand, and they say that because they don't share your information outside of their company, that makes them different. And so they called me like on a weekend to complain about that characterization of calling them a surveillance company. And and they said, we don't have humans looking at your data, anything that any analysis of your behavior or your data happens on the phone. it's not people doing it. And I said, well, I think that's a semantic difference. If you look at the definition of surveillance, it really is just the watching of someone. And your company watches its customers incredibly closely through the phone, right? Down to the point where, you know, your Maps app is suggesting destinations to me before I've even entered them, because it assumes that from here I'm going to go off to drop my kids at school or go home, because that's what I did yesterday. Anyway, they got off the phone with me pretty angrily. I wasn't invited to an Apple thing again for more than a year. And now we have this presentation in which Apple has announced its new standards around AI, and it includes things like, you know, it should be very, very convenient, it should be easy to use, right? And one of the principles is that it should use what it knows about you in a effective and convenient way. Well, here we are. This is the long game that I was trying to sort of keep in mind as I was doing the reporting, which is that eventually all of these companies are going to be able to deploy all of this data that they have collected in order to make AI-powered predictions about your desires and your behavior and your habits. And Apple is going to be able to do that, right? They know, based on the information they have about you, all kinds of things about what you are into and not into, and what you do and don't do. And you're seeing a fundamental renegotiation, I think, with everybody and the companies that serve us, between companies and us, this renegotiation going on, in which you're seeing Adobe asking for a worldwide royalty-free license for your content in order to be able to pull it into AI and analyze it, right? You're seeing Evernote offering the chance to reformat notes using AI, but if you say that you want to do that, then you're giving them permission to send it to a third party. And now Apple's saying, you know, with the deployment of iOS 18, we're going to start using the data that for all this time we've talked about as being your private data. And I guess by some definitions you could just say it's still going to be private, but it's going to be analyzed and it's going to be deployed to predict your behavior in these big ways that I don't think any of us understood we were preparing these companies to do when we began sharing our information with them years ago.
Crazy. They already know. They predicting everything now.
A lot of people have this feeling like the game is so rigged, it's already been won, and we have no chance of stopping it. And that's not true. In fact, if anything, I think we might be winning it. Throughout our lifetimes, there's been a number of ways that the rich and powerful have, let's say, controlled our lives and the world. And I'm going to show you how every single one of those tools is crumbling underneath them. Let's start with news and the corporate media. By every metric, it's failing. Cable news viewership, social media interactions with news sites, live TV viewership. In November 2023, Fox News had an average of 1.7 million viewers per day. Dude, I get more views than that some days on TikTok, let alone people like Joe Rogan. But notice that of those 1.7 million viewers per day, almost all of them were over the ages of 55. The dark bar is anyone 25 to 55. The blue bar is their total viewership. So it's all boomers sitting in their chairs watching news. Or this article from Bloomberg, time spent watching TV has dropped by 3 hours over the last decade. But real quick, we went from spending almost 9 hours a day, excuse me? We used to watch an average of 9 hours of TV a day. Who are you people? But it doesn't stop with cable news. All of Hollywood is screwed right now because no one's going to the movies. I'd imagine that part of that is because their movies have sucked, and I'd imagine that part of that is because a lot of people are starting to realize that a lot of the movies that they're putting out are kind of just corporate propaganda for like ideals they want us to champion, instead of genuine entertainment made by genuinely creative people that just want to create amazing storytelling. Plus, they've been taken up by streaming, and streaming has not been going very well from a financial standpoint. Even sports viewership is down, aside from the NFL. All the other sports are tanking. And when the Roman Empire is falling and they can't even get people to watch the circuses and eat the bread, there's problems. Speaking of bread and circuses, the music industry, which has long been used to control what young people think is cool, that music industry is also failing.
So if we adjust the growth of the global recorded music industry from 1999 to today, and we account for the M2 money supply, you will find that the music industry has not only not kept up with inflation or the growth of the money supply, it's actually lost against the growth of the money supply. That means that during the most insane everything bubble to come along in ever, the music industry failed to even beat inflation.
All of these industries are slowly failing right before our eyes, and it's all happening for the exact same reason. And they all center around technologies that allow us to entertain ourselves, allow us to inform ourselves, allow us to support one another instead of giant businesses. Take TikTok, for example. This woman, Tiffany Cianci, got attacked by billions of dollars worth of private equity, and they started to just throw millions of dollars worth of lawsuits at her, thinking she couldn't defend against that. However, her husband is a federal attorney, and they put up a damn good fight, and they've been fighting for years. And because of TikTok, she's been able to reach millions of people. 800,000, 300,000, 900,000, 300,000, 1.7 million. She's been on the front page of the New York Times because of all the press she's drummed up. What used to be a simple bury it in money and legal cases is now you're fighting against the entire internet of connected citizens. While we're on the topic, congrats, Tiffany, on the recent victory in court. Or take Amy Nelson, for example, who's under the same sort of fire from Amazon for a legal action that is no basis against her husband, where they thought they could just bury them in millions of dollars of legal fees. They fought for 4 years and they finally won. And along the way, they reached millions of people. Amazon actually tried to get the court to force her to close her TikTok account because she was reaching so many people exposing what they were doing. Not to mention that the news is failing while we're all tuning into social media to get our own news, where we're now engaging in a global discussion of sources and information and sharing what we see. One need only look to the way that the mainstream network news is covering that conflict in the Middle East versus how the whole internet is covering the conflict in the Middle East to see their power crumbling in real time. Certainly, the fight is not over, and we all need to participate. But this decade is a time of change. It's a time of disruption, and we're all a part of it. I know it's tiring, and I know it feels depressing when it seems like it's all stacked against us. But the systems that big money has always relied upon to control the narrative, to control our attention, to keep us in the boxes only knowing what they want us to know, they're all falling apart. Now is not a time for us to lose hope and to give up. Now is a time for us all to get loud and keep fighting. That's why I make spreadsheets to help people buy from small family-owned businesses instead of giant mega corporations, to take money out of the system of giant, rich, powerful people that are controlling everything. That's why I make content like this, digging into how big money works and how these giant corporations are controlling the things that we see and know. Because sure, the internet gives them a lot of power, but it gives us more. And one of the last viable tactics that big money has is to make...
He has some great points.
I'm panicked, but I'm not sure why I'm panicked and what information is it that compromises everybody.
Your DNA is something you're stuck with for the rest of your life. It's not like a password that you can change. And so you need to protect it. So my advice to you and to everybody else out there, whoever did 23andMe, is go in and tell them to delete it now.
I get it. They got my DNA. I mean, it's not like my social security number. So what are they going to do with that information of knowing my DNA and my ancestry that would cause me to lose sleep?
I would argue it's worse than getting your social security number, because your DNA is already here in 2025 the key to so much about who you are as a person. So first of all, it contains information about your ancestry. It contains information about your family tree. Famously, it can be used to determine what are called non-paternity events within a family lineage, when somebody claims they're a dad and maybe they're not biologically really. But even more scary, I think, for all of us is that it contains clues about your health, your likelihood to have certain conditions, certain kinds of diseases. And you know who would like to have that information? Insurance companies. And then maybe they could use that to figure out how to charge people different amounts based on their DNA.
Or deny them coverage.
Yeah. So, I mean, but here's what really scares me is that's all that we can sort of imagine here in 2025.
Right.
But imagine 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when the science has advanced further. What will we be able to learn from DNA then?
Mm-hmm.
So this is often the problem with data, right? Like in the moment you think, oh, well, what's so bad about that? What are they going to do with this? But it catches up with you. And the more data you got out there, the more problems you're going to face later in life.
You talk to attorneys general from around the country who are working on or already have passed legislation on this. How does that help people?
Yeah, you know what? There's a tiny bit of good news here for ordinary consumers. As we all know, the federal government has been doing nothing to help us and our privacy over the last couple of years. But the states have been active, and California and about 20 other states now have laws on the books that say that any company that collects your data has to give you the right to delete it. So when you go into that 23andMe website, you log in, you ask them to delete it. Legally, they have to do that. And if they don't, there's real consequences for them.
You know, everybody talks about this where, yeah, we'll delete it, but somehow it's still accessible. Like when you think you destroy a computer and it's not really destroyed and they can access things later. That's not going to happen here. They really do 86 the whole thing.
It's so funny you asked that question. Literally before I got on camera, I was messaging with the people in the California government whose job it is to make sure that they actually delete it and to go after them if they don't. They're working on it. We also know that some state attorney generals, I heard from the Attorney General of Connecticut yesterday, saying that they were launching an investigation. Trust me, this is a very high profile moment. And so, you know, it does take some faith in our elected leaders and institutions. But this is one case where I think the right thing is probably going to happen. And if it doesn't, we're going to hear about it in a big explosive way.
Man, put trust in who?
Facebook could be forced to sell Instagram. Yeah, you heard me right. We could be getting this back. On Monday, the FTC trial to break up Meta began. The FTC is arguing that Facebook created an illegal social media monopoly when it acquired WhatsApp and Instagram and wants Facebook to sell off these apps to create more competition in the social media market. Two huge pieces of evidence for the FTC include a 2008 email from Mark Zuckerberg stating, "It is better to buy than compete," and a 2012 memo from Zuckerberg saying the reason he bought Instagram was to neutralize a potential competitor. Facebook purchased Instagram for $1 billion in 2012, when it had just 30 million users. Facebook purchased WhatsApp for $19 billion in 2014, when it had just 450 million users. It was also revealed at the trial that Facebook tried to purchase Snapchat for $6 billion in 2013. As of today, Facebook has stopped growing, but Instagram and WhatsApp keep attracting more users. Instagram alone makes up half of Meta's total advertising revenue. Because of this, Zuckerberg is doing everything in his power to get Trump to intervene and prevent the breakup. You may remember he was at the Trump inauguration. Well, he also donated $1 million to that inauguration. He has also made multiple visits to the White House to meet with Trump and has been to Mar-a-Lago twice. Meta initially offered $450 million to settle the lawsuit, which former FTC chair Lina Khan called delusional, given that the FTC's offer was $30 billion. Clearly, Zuck's efforts with Trump didn't work, as he was forced to testify for 10 hours this week. The trial is expected to last for up to 2 months.
They saying they got a monopoly on everything.
You know what's interesting? In the US, you have a process that allows the government to actually force any engineer in any tech company to implement a backdoor and not tell anyone about it, with using this process called the gag order, and there are certain legal procedures.
Not tell his own employer about it?
And yes, exactly. If you tell your own boss, you can end up in jail, like gag order. This exists.
Actually?
Yeah. This is something that's on Wikipedia.
So
in France.
Like in the Soviet Union or in the US?
In the US. I'm not criticizing.
So your employees have a legal obligation to act as fifth column spies, saboteurs against you, your employees.
Well, that's one of the reasons we didn't discuss last time why I didn't move to the US with my team.
And you got mugged in San Francisco on your one trip there.
Exactly.
These laws and stuff, bro.
Hey guys, my name is Mitch with Under the Firewall. I make videos about technology and cybersecurity, and I wanted to let you know that your smartphone is always listening to you. The reason why is because nowadays smartphones come out of the box with voice assistants installed, like Google Voice Assistant for Android and Siri for iOS. Now those voice assistants have an always listening function that is designed to be triggered whenever you say certain keywords. However, that always listening function is also designed to collect data about you. So if you've ever had a conversation in proximity of a smartphone and then wondered why you started getting advertisements for things that you've talked about during that conversation, that's probably why. You can turn off the always listening function in settings. So it's really a choice of security or convenience. Now, it may not be a big deal. I mean, I use Siri myself personally, but just make sure you know what you're saying around your phone because it is listening. All right. Bye, guys.
We all know that. We all know that.
Your phone can track your location with no GPS, no Wi-Fi, and no permission, just from how fast your battery drains. Researchers at Stanford and Israel's defense sector built something called Power Spy. Pause this if you want to read it. It can track your location using only your phone's power usage over time. Like what? See, when your phone moves up hills, through buildings, near towers, it's using different amounts of power to stay connected. Over time, that power pattern becomes a location fingerprint. Look at this. And guess what? Apps don't need permission to access your battery usage. That means even a game like Flappy Bird or some flashlight app could track your location silently with up to 90% accuracy without ever asking.
Wow.
So yeah, you turned off your GPS, you're not safe. Your phone is still watching through the battery. Can we bring back payphones? Like, please? We might need that.
Bro, they so involved with what we do.
So you wouldn't know if you're under investigation, perhaps, because a freedom of information request would only pull up warrants, right? And things that are in your paper. Turns out AT&T has decided to open up the registry through something called the Hemisphere Project. And there's been, a senator complained. A senator had to complain about this, that American law enforcement agencies have been routinely snooping on U.S. citizens and residents without regard to privacy and provisions of the Fourth Amendment because they're no longer requesting via subpoenas of data and judge approved warrants of data. They're just simply purchasing it from AT&T. AT&T has made it for sale. It's not illegal to buy data. It's illegal to request it and demand it without a warrant.
It's illegal to request it, but it's not illegal to buy. So how do you know? I'm still confused. If I want to buy something from you, I'm going to ask you if it's for sale. Is that illegal?
It's not illegal.
To ask for it?
It's not currently deemed unconstitutional for law enforcement to purchase data. And this has been going on for a while, not just with AT&T.
Oh, yeah. This has been going on for 15 years.
So
Jon Stewart came out about this.
Facebook.
They were studying on journalists, and they're spying on people, and they're taking senators' phones, and they were the war on journalists, the whistleblowers, all the stuff. That was, God, that was 2010, 2012.
Well, but
it never stopped.
But the ad programs with Google and Facebook have made it very easy to. Remember what we used to do when we were trying to do political marketing campaigns, and we would try to create lists.
They would give you every voter. Yeah.
Right. Well, so you can do that by, all you got to do is force these people to click on one thing, even if they don't buy something. You've got all of their data.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you've got a list of people that you have all of the demographic data. You didn't have to do a warrant request. You just had to pay a couple fractions of a penny for a click. And you've got all the demographic data you need and a lot of interest data about them. So because they have been bucketed in certain ad profiles, like customer personas, like we were talking about this morning, you know that, okay, they do a bunch of shopping for bridal stuff, or they do a bunch of searches for guns online because they've bought guns or something.
I know this sounds scary. I think this is just another step, because you had the stingrays where the police would go up and they capture stuff on the phones and the wireless networks, and dual? They've got you, but they can't introduce it in court, so they have, dual track, parallel track? What is it when they do that for the criminal stuff? Oh, they've caught the drug dealer. They can't tell you where he got it from, so they...
you're talking about parallel reconstruction.
Yeah, parallel reconstruction, exactly. So we know they've been doing that, and we know the data's out there. If AT&T has it, Palantir and other people have had it too. So I think this represents a change, a scary change in the government. Think back to 9/11. when you figured out the FBI didn't have access to Google or Yahoo because their computers were old, they were set up, they couldn't do that. You couldn't basically share that kinds of information for civil liberties. We have shredded all those in the last 20 years. So the idea that they're buying it, they were already getting it from AT&T.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they had no choice.
Now it just seems like this is easier on them instead of because the demands from Twitter they used to make.
Exactly.
But there's a constitutional amendment that we have that's supposed to protect us.
Supposed to is the key word, my boy.
Major airline companies have been selling your flight data to the Department of Homeland Security. Data broker called Airlines Reporting Corporation, ARC, collected over 1 billion records and sold it to CBP, which is part of the DHS. And the reasoning behind this is because, quote, the agency has stated that it requires the data to support state and local law enforcement in tracking individuals of interest. They are giving sensitive information like your name, the credit card you used to book the flight, and where you're going, along with other stuff. The problem with ARC is that it's owned by quite a large chunk of major airline companies, and we were never supposed to know how that information was given, but now that we apparently know, it just seems like the airlines is loosely trying to hide the fact that they are mass selling our data to Homeland Security through a shell company for profit. And if you like this kind of content, please make sure to hit the follow button. To top it all off, ARC connects airlines with travel agencies and even works with companies like Expedia and works with 240 airlines over ticket settlements. The initial information was obtained by 404 Media via a Freedom of Information Act request.
This data stuff is crazy.
England, remember when I warned about Palantir's involvement with US medical records and basically all of our other records? It's not just the US. Palantir holds significant contracts in the UK. This includes a £330 million deal to manage the NHS's federated data platform. This platform centralizes patient data across England, all under the management of a company that is known for its work with US intelligence agencies, and it's important to pay attention to this. Is it a coincidence? Maybe, but in this political climate, I doubt it. We're watching a global pattern of consolidated data, privatized surveillance, all with bipartisan complicity. Always starting with the efficiency argument. But again, here's the kicker, no public consent. These patterns matter, and it's about who controls our data, our important information that makes up who we are, that shows the government who we are. It's about how this data is used. It's all getting very Minority Report.
Man, they not playing with us.
Do you think we need to worry about what they're putting in our electronics?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you one example. I bought this awesome vacuum and mop that's in one called Telecom. It completely connects to a Chinese server to transmit and receive information. You can turn the audio on for it, like when you plug it in, it says, charging started, charging stopped. I can control that with my computer through a Chinese cloud server. There's no reason that that vacuum and mop should connect to a Chinese cloud infrastructure whatsoever. And at any point, they could change the way that functionality works and take over my home network with this vacuum mop. Yeah.
How many devices do you think have these things in them?
Anything with Wi-Fi capability is going to open up an attack vector.
Washing machines, refrigerators.
Yeah, it gets only worse.
Whoa, this sounds like some movie stuff.
Okay, so I had to hop on and talk about Palantir. Palantir is this database that allows you to make sense of large volumes of data and helps to analyze and output information into like something that's more digestible for analysts. It is something that the CIA has been using for years. It's something that I used to use at the CIA in order to make sense of terrorist networks and be able to digest huge volumes of information, intelligence, in order to make sense of terrorist networks and how they're interconnected. So the concerning thing is that President Trump has spent over $113 million on Palantir contracts since he's taken office. And so what's worrying about this? What he's asking the federal agencies to do, DHS, the IRS, Health and Human Services, DOD, he's asking them to all share information across this platform called Palantir. And the issue with this is that it creates a very centralized database of information on American citizens. Information like your bank accounts, your student debt, your medical claims, your disability status. This is really worrisome to me in particular because I feel like it provides a database that can be easily hacked by the Chinese, the Russian, whatever enemies we have, and that information can be used on U.S. citizens to either, force them into giving up information that might help to further their efforts. Or it could be used by a political figure like Trump or someone else to get them to get individuals, American citizens, to do what they want them to do, because they have all of this personalized, centralized information on American citizens. So again, Palantir has huge government contracts like across DOD, DHS, IRS, CDC. I know that's a big alphabet soup to swallow, but think about all the information that they have on you. Think about all of that being centralized into one database that's easily accessible by the federal government and by potentially our enemies. That information could be hacked. So I think this whole Palantir thing is really worrisome, and I wanted to just give a few cents on why I think it's so worrisome, especially for U.S. citizens in particular. I use the database on a frequent basis while at the CIA, and I cannot say enough that this is very worrisome, that they would compile information from all these different government agencies on American citizens. What is your take on this?
Man, they want as much information as they...
If you think Facebook and Instagram know everything about you, they do. And it's much worse than you think. When you think about Meta, you think about social media. But actually, they're a surveillance advertising company.
Senator, we run ads.
Where they take all the data they can about you and sell it to advertisers. In fact, for Meta, you are not the customer, you are the product. Meta's actually tracking you everywhere, even when you're not on the app. For example, Facebook has a pixel invisible to the human eye that it embeds on millions of websites and apps across the internet to allow it to track you wherever you go without you even knowing it. So, if you thought that deleting your account was the right response to this, it's just not enough, because Facebook is tracking you even when you're not a user of their services.
Wow.
In order for Meta to process all this data about you, the GDPR requires them to have a legal reason to do so. Meta currently relies on contract by claiming that they have to track you and profile you in order to fulfill their contract with you, the user. In fact, however, Meta really needs all of this data and personalization to fulfill its contract with its real customers, the advertisers. That is already illegal, and the EU has already taken steps to enforcement. But why hasn't the UK? And that's why Good Law Project has been forced to take the first steps in legal action. If you like personalized ads, that's absolutely fine. What we want is for people to have the right to choose, including what data they share.
I respect that. I respect that. People need a choice.
The Pegasus spyware, and it's also affecting both iPhones and Androids. Could you tell us more about this spyware that's possibly affecting anyone or everyone at this time?
I looked up Pegasus and I was like, oh crap, Pegasus is still floating around. I thought it was cleaned up because Apple, Google, Microsoft, they always send out zero-day patches to fix these things. But I noticed that when I did the research and looked at all the numbers, 2023 to 2024, it was still rising, but it was rising in specific places. Like people like me or people in the government and different places or big companies that it's like what we call the new spyware for industrial espionage. It's like, well, if I can get you to go to a website, which we all do, link, now I can sit and watch everything that you do. Our phones can be sitting on a desk and it's recording us and we don't even know it's recording. And we're trusting iPhone, we're trusting Apple, we're trusting Google. And that's where it's like in my mind, I'm like, well, we're trusting them, but it comes down to zero trust. You do the right, if you understand what the threats are, you can protect yourself. And you don't have to worry about Apple. Apple does 90%, you have to do the other 10%. September 14th at the Westin here in Manila. Come join us at Web3 AI. It's just 88 pesos. You can learn everything you want to know in the 16 lectures that I'll be presenting.
I don't know what he's talking about, but that whole recording thing, nah.
This one's an interesting one. Check this out. This device, put your HDMI in, put your power in. Every TV, every monitor, for the most part, is going to have a USB port. Put this in the back of a computer screen or the back of a computer desktop, and you could even put a little post-it note saying like HDMI enhancer or do not remove or IT only, like something that, would scare somebody from unplugging it. And this thing can wirelessly transmit with almost no delay in high quality what's going on the screen. And if you're not within proximity, let's say you go out of the proximity proximity of this antenna, it stores all of that footage on the SD card, which could be, from what I was actually told by a friend, years, depending on the interval of how often it's taking snapshots. Check behind your screens, check behind your computers, look for a device like this, which is like a man-in-the-middle type of device that is capturing your screen. There's so much more out there to be scared of, but this is something that you could easily check. If it's there, unplug it, throw it in the trash, call the police, do whatever you gotta do.
That's gonna record everything you're doing on your screen.
Yes.
This shit here is so crazy, so crazy.
Meta trained its AI model to lie to users about what data it had been trained on. Theft was not some innocent mistake. They knew exactly what they were doing. They pirated these materials willfully. As the idea of pirating copyrighted works percolated through Meta, to take one example, employee after employee warned management that what they were doing was illegal. One Meta employee told management that, and I quote now, "This is not trivial." And he shared an article asking, what is the probability of getting arrested for using torrents, illegal downloads, in the United States? Another Meta employee shared a different article saying that downloading from illegal repositories would open Meta up to legal ramifications. That's a nice way of saying that what they were doing was exactly, totally, 100% barred by copyright law. Did Meta management listen? No. They bulldozed straight ahead. We'll see evidence today that Mark Zuckerberg himself approved the decision to use these pirated materials. And then the best part, Meta management tried to hide it. They tried to hide the fact that they were engaged in the illegal download of pirated works. And not just the illegal download, but the illegal distribution of these same works. They tried to hide it by using non-company servers. They went so far as to train their AI model. Get this. Meta trained its AI model to lie to users about what data it had been trained on.
Wow.
I mean, you talk about an Inception level worthy deception.
Wow.
Training the AI model to lie about what its own sources were. This isn't just aggressive business tactics. This is criminal conduct. And I just want to point out, Meta's conduct is not an exception. This is the rule when it comes to what is happening right now in the AI space among these mega companies. Big tech operates on the model of do whatever you want and count on the lobbyists and the lawyers to fix it later. They don't care about the rule of law. They don't care about America. They don't care about freedom. They certainly don't care about working people. They care about power and they care about money.
The panoply of those tech people, I cannot believe, that's what I can't believe, having covered these people. And I wrote in 2016 that they were sheeple. Boy, are they sheeple. Boy, was that a good call.
Let's be even-handed here. Are you really disappointed in Tim Cook? I'm really disappointed in Tim Cook.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know why he did it. I get it. He didn't have to be there. There were lots of people there that didn't want to be there. That's for sure. And I told you, I got a text from someone saying, I hate myself more than I think you hate me right now for being here. And I was like, I doubt it. I doubt it. I see why you are, but doesn't mean I hate you less than you hate yourself. The thing that the Democrats do is they do this sort of huffy indignance about it. How dare they, this kind of stuff. Just don't show up like Michelle Obama. That's what you do. Like Mother Pence didn't show up too, by the way. I bet they were throwing back shots at a bar together. Fuck that guy. You have to create a whole new narrative and story about America for people that gives them hope, makes them feel like it's fair, and not that panoply of bullshit with those people.
Give Americans hope, huh?
The company that made Angry Birds, they somehow logged the email of your phone, which is the hardware identifier of your phone. And they said, yeah, we do that to prevent cheating. It's a bit weird that they did that, but they did that for many years. I checked it this morning. In 2011, they were doing this. And then later it was found that they were transmitting that email data together with a bunch of other data over an unencrypted connection. Later, it turned out that enabled a government to build a database of where everyone was in the world. Because 500 million people had installed Angry Birds, and they were all logging their details to this server. The Angry Bird people did not know they were at the core of a worldwide surveillance program. And this was big. And that was all because they said, yeah, we're going to log the email in plain text and someone is going to snoop that. It is the combination of all these different things, the way people walk, the screen resolution, the air pressure where they are, how fast their car drives, that has now generated a complete view of everyone. And that view is generated by individual people logging the email so that we can prevent cheating.
So I did some research, and look, this dates all the way back to like 2014, but it does look like this was actually true. And you can see here that Angry Birds and leaky phone apps are targeted by the NSA and GCHQ for user data, so piggybacking on commercial data. So there should be nothing new, to be honest. This is something that government organizations have likely been doing for a while, but it's good that we are talking about it. You're probably thinking about things that you could potentially do, so as always, be careful what apps you are installing. You don't want to, so this was a very popular game, but you want to try and reduce the amount of apps that are actually on your phone because they're created by third parties, and the use of that data is often up to them in their terms and conditions. If you want to get away from Apple and Google phones, you can use de-Googled phones, for example. You always want to have a good general privacy, so you want to be using general good privacy best practices. And sometimes you have to actually accept the fact that using tech gives this possibility and it gives this level of access. So you kind of have to have some level of risk that you're happy to actually accept when you're using tech, which is the unfortunate thing to say, but it is the truth.
It definitely is the truth, for sure.
From just a phone number, here's how much information somebody can find out about you. Quick PSA, this video is for educational purposes only, and the number we're going to be using for this demo is publicly listed. There's a website called inteltechniques.com, and it has a ton of open source intelligence tools. These tools will help you find information that is publicly available on the internet, and it'll help you find out how much information is really out there about you. Now I'm going to use one of the tools from the site, and I'm going to input that public phone number that we were talking about before. Even though it's a public phone number, I'm still going to be blocking out all of the information. From just the phone number, we can see the name and the age of the person, their current address. We even get a Google map view of their address. We can see other phone numbers they have registered under them, and then even some of their other aliases, such as nicknames or maybe previous names they would have went as. But wait, there's more! We can even get email addresses as well as property details about how many beds and bathrooms are in their house, and then other previous addresses they have as well. Interestingly enough, even if you are very diligent about getting your information off the web, a lot of these websites can give information about possible relatives. So let's say you have a brother or a sister who is not as savvy as you are, they could still be accidentally giving up some of your information. Keep in mind, all of this information is from only one site. You might be wondering, where does all this information about us come from? And the answer is listed directly on their website. As we can see, a lot of their sources are listed either as data licensor, or we could see indirectly from us.
Wow.
In addition to that, it also comes from us in observing our actions on applications, and also third parties that interact with them. In short, the way they get their information is either you've signed up for some sort of website that then went on to sell your data, or maybe there's an application you were using that you didn't know worked with these websites directly, but basically that's the way that they get their data. Now the next question is there any hope for us getting this data off the web? And the answer is yes, but it is a little annoying. Although all these websites get your data, they are legally required if you request it to delete that data. Therefore, one method for scrubbing your information off the web is to go to each one of these sites, search for your information, and then request deletion. On the bright side, all these sites are legally required to delete that information, but on the not so bright side, they can all have different methods for doing so. Some of the websites I've seen, you have to send emails to them. Some of them, they just have a box that you fill out saying that you request deletion. And others, it's as simple as just contacting their team. So thank you all for watching. I hope this helped. I hope you all can now scour the web for your information and scrub it off the web. And I hope to see you in the next video.
This shit is crazy nowadays, bro.
It has been confirmed your phone is listening in on your conversations. So have you ever had one of those moments where you're talking with a friend about something, and then very conveniently after that conversation, you start seeing that thing you were talking about on your phone or on your different social medias? Well, it's now been confirmed that that happening is no coincidence. A marketing firm that works with companies like Google and Facebook has admitted that it listens to users' smartphone microphones and then places ads based on the information that it picks up. Now, apparently this active listening system also uses AI to sort of analyze what you're saying, which is incredibly invasive, especially since it's not just stuff about ads that they're able to listen into. Any conversation that you have ever had, if there was a smartphone present during that conversation was heard by this active listening software, and it could possibly have been stored in some server somewhere. Now, this technology has a lot of people thinking, was this only used for serving people ads? And what happens if this database of conversations ends up getting leaked to the public?
Crazy. Crazy.
One of the crazy things about Pegasus is the fact that the spyware can be placed on anyone's smartphone at any time, simply by sending that person a link and having them click on it. And the link can be something real, like it can be something that actually is real, and it'll even work. So like, for example, I have to catch a flight here in a little while, right? And for that flight, I have to check in on my phone. I get an email, then I check in to get my boarding pass, right? You can put the Pegasus spyware into that email. And so when the person clicks on that link, and it would still allow me to get my boarding pass and everything like that, as soon as I click on the link, it gives the spyware access to my phone. It could be something as simple as somebody texting you a tweet, like a link to a tweet or something like that, or a video. That's all it takes. As soon as you click on that link, the spyware is now in your phone.
Hey, did you know that the camera and microphone you're using right now can be seen and heard by someone remotely if your phone is infected with a spyware called Pegasus? In fact, the users can have access to your camera, your microphone, photos, videos, all your DMs, your social media, your texts, emails. They can even send and receive messages. They can have your exact location. They can even have your health data. And these aren't hackers or shadowy figures from the dark web. Pegasus is sold to governments like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Mexico, by an Israeli spyware firm called NSO Group. And there have been dozens of reported cases of it being used against human rights activists and journalists. We actually interviewed victims of Pegasus in Mexico and associates of Jamal Khashoggi in London for an episode of Fault Lines called Targeted by a Text. Our reporting led us to a New Jersey mansion where Omri Levy lived, the owner of NSO. I knocked on his door to ask some questions about the business of sneaking into people's private lives.
Omri, can we ask you a few questions? Hey, I'm a journalist with Al Jazeera, Josh Rushing, I host a show called Fault Lines. Can we ask you just a few questions?
No.
Want to get a statement from you?
Excuse me, this is private property, so I would ask you kindly to go away.
Just one statement, like, why do you continue to sell to governments that use Pegasus to target human rights activists and journalists? Say, go away or I'll call the police.
Because of all the reporting about governments abusing Pegasus, the US government blacklisted the company in 2021. You know the old saying about never let a serious crisis go to waste? NSO certainly does. They're now spending millions of dollars to lobby the US government to try to get it off the blacklist. They've actually hired one of the most prestigious law firms in the world, Paul Hastings. That's his building. You can see it right from my desk. A partner from Paul Hastings on November 7th, exactly 1 month after the Hamas attack on Israel, sent a written letter requesting to urgently meet with the Secretary of State. How do I know? Here's the email. Here are the letters, and these are courtesy of our good friends and journalists over at The Intercept. In the letter, the partner, Timothy Dickinson, uses the specter of alleged rising anti-Semitism as a reason for the U.S. government to have this incredibly invasive spyware. Hey, look for a lot more about Pegasus, NSO. Check out the Emmy-nominated Fault Lines episode, Targeted by a Text on YouTube. This is The Brief, and I'm Josh Rushing.
Man, this government stuff and what they doing and how they doing it is
Listen up, because this is important. Your phone's not just listening, it's learning you. Most people know their phones listen to them, but it's deeper than that. It tracks your pauses, your tone, your micro reactions, what you click, what you don't click, what makes your eyes widen, even for a second. Your data isn't just collected, it's interpreted. It learns how to keep you hooked, how to shape your mood. You think you're in control of your feed. It's in control of you. They don't need to censor you if they can quietly program what you believe.
So we all know that our data is being sold. I know that is no surprise. But have you ever wondered who did it? Like, was it Walmart? Was it Aritzia? Did Target go and sell your data? Well, if you've ever wondered who is selling your information, here's a little tip for the next time you sign up for an account. Instead of adding your real name, like for example, my name is Rebecca Richard, when I sign up for an account, I'll write Rebecca Target. That way, when I receive mail or emails and they're referring to me as Rebecca Target, I'm gonna know exactly who did it. So what do you do with that information once you know that, for example, Target sold your data? Well, a lot of times companies can have a section on their website where you can opt out of your data being sold. There are a few main data brokers that you can reach out to have your information removed. But most importantly, this will help with knowing when you need to make a sensitive purchase, something that you don't necessarily want all of America knowing that you purchased. Maybe you do that purchase in cash, or maybe you pay with a more private card, knowing that this company is very likely going to sell your data and any of your purchasing habits as well. And I'm trying to not say the quiet part out loud, but we live in a world right now where when you buy certain medicines, for example, and you use those medicines, you can get sent to jail. So with that, we need to be careful about our digital footprint, where we're purchasing things, what we're purchasing those things with, and kind of knowing which of these companies are being shady and selling our information is a great starting point for knowing who we can trust.
Man, the world we live in.
This one's fun. Apparently, if you work at Apple and you decide to leave for whatever reason, no matter what your title is, they have a policy of changing it to associate. And let me tell you why that's a big deal. Let's suppose that you're a director-level software development manager and you go to another competing company to interview for a similar type of role. As you go through the entire interview process, you kill it and you end up landing the job offer. What will happen is that new company will then go back and check your background and your references. And like a lot of big companies, Apple actually has a hotline set up that third parties can verify your employment history and data. And among other things, they can check your dates of employment and your job title. And imagine if you're the employer and you interview this person thinking that they're a certain level, and it comes back that they were only an associate. In some cases, it can cost employees job opportunities or even salaries. Now, I know this is an extreme example, but your job titles do really matter on the open market. And this can really screw the people over who worked at Apple. And Apple has actually confirmed this themselves. You can go and find the article if you search for it on Google. And why would Apple do this? Who knows? But some former employees are saying that Apple is just being vindictive so that they can potentially block this person from going to a competitor. But either way, if you worked at Apple, make sure you tell your future potential employer that your job title may be changed to associate so that it doesn't flag anything on the background check. For more employment news, views, and tips, make sure you follow along.
That's foul. That's foul, bro.
This is not okay. And if you're a parent that uses the Life 360 safety app, you might want to listen to this. So Life 360 is an app that allows you to track somebody's location. It's marketed to families so parents can keep an eye on their kids. And it's used by over 33 million people across the world. Except it was just revealed that the app is selling data on kids and families' whereabouts to approximately a dozen data brokers who then go on and sell it to who knows. Revealing intimate location data and patterns on kids, that's a whole new level of ethical breach. And it was actually employees who came forward to journalists about this information because they were so disturbed by the whole thing. There are reasons why we have such strict regulations when it comes to things like advertising and marketing to kids, the platforms they can use, consent forms. The many ways that data on children's intimate location patterns could be exploited can't be overstated. I hope this story hitting press is a wake-up call for them. And this is why we need data policies and regulation.
Yeah, what the hell? Why don't we have that already?
This is from TikTok's privacy policy. It said, we collect certain information about the device you use to access the platform, such as your IP address, user region. This is really crazy. User agent, mobile carrier, time zone settings, identifiers for advertising purpose, model of your device, the device system, network type, device IDs, your screen resolution and operating system, app and file names and types. So all your apps and all your file names, all the things you have filed away on your phone, they have access to that. Keystroke patterns or rhythms. So they're monitoring your keystrokes, which means they know every fucking thing you type. Wow. That's what you're agreeing to when you download and start using TikTok. That's wild.
It's insane. Do you think they did that? They created TikTok just on purpose to have all that?
100%. Wow. I think they saw and they came up with the most addictive version of social media, which is TikTok.
Whoa. Whoa.
It's very unsettling that I could just get a knife that easy, because imagine somebody that's 16, 17 and they're thinking, I want to order a knife of Amazon, and it just comes to them, you know? You can just fake an age. It's like there needs to be restrictions.
Kitchen knives are one thing, but the zombie knives are another thing. And the thing is, I think the tech companies have to also sit at the table about how they can help intervene. Because if I say the word knife now in front of my phone, guaranteed somewhere in my timeline, I'm going to see a knife, something's going to happen, a knife crime's going to come up. That happens. That is an algorithm that's not helping the situation. To your point earlier about social media, like amplifying the situation, it's like you can get advertised on your phone a knife, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is.
Oh, but TikTok's the problem. Let's look at this. So all of the major cell phone carriers were illegally selling our data. Isn't that fun? And more importantly, the type of data they were selling was putting people directly at risk. They were selling our locations, along with everything else that we offer up. Here we are talking about some of the most sensitive data in their possession, customers' real-time location. So they were selling this information to aggregators, and those aggregators sold them to third parties, to whoever wanted to buy them. Again, this wasn't just our locations, it was everything. And an example of how it was misused, a Mississippi sheriff was tracking the location of people through their cell phones via prison communication service. A sheriff was tracking people, yet TikTok is the problem. Keep in mind, all of these carriers only had to pay out like $24 million. That is nothing for them at all. And that money's never gonna reach us. If we get anything, we'll get a couple dollars for them selling all of our data. But TikTok is the problem. What? I just would love to have a word with our government. Just a little word, just one.
Here we go. All this shit crazy.
What is the most secure method of communication nowadays? Everybody's worried about government overreach and big tech tracking everything we do. And what do you use?
I use Signal primarily. I have Telegram and WhatsApp, which both have the end-to-end encryption features. iMessage on iPhone actually is also end-to-end encrypted. What that means is that, like, you and I have the keys to unlock the contents of that conversation. So it's end-to-end. Like, there's no intermediary server that can take that traffic and decrypt it, because the key exchange is like between the two of us. Usually what compromises devices security, the text messaging and stuff, is that the actual phone itself is compromised.
Great point.
If you drive Ford or like Ford, you need to know about this. Ford is trying to get a patent right now, technology that lets them listen to our conversations while we're driving a Ford vehicle or while we're in a Ford vehicle. Technology would then allow them to show us ads based off our conversations with people in the car. If you're in the car and your kid is in the back saying that they're hungry and they want McDonald's, you can bet that a McDonald's ad is going to pop up in that car for some chicken nuggets. Not only that, but they're going to analyze your car's historical location data so they know like the businesses that you're passing day to day to day. The patent application says the conversations can be parsed for keywords or phrases that may indicate where the occupants are traveling to. Technology is being called in-vehicle advertisement presentation. It's going to be able to determine where your car is located, how fast it's going, the type of road it's driving on, if there's traffic or not. Of course, show you ads based on where you're at and what you're talking about. Advertisers are going to be able to get a hold of this data and buy ads to advertise to you specifically in your vehicle. Patent application does not cover how this information is going to be protected. Not that I think that that's one of our biggest concerns during this, but okay. Not only that, but the patent that was filed in July proposed technology would enable vehicles to monitor the speed of other nearby cars, photograph those cars, and send that information to the police. I don't know, y'all. What do you guys think about this? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it'll be helpful to have specified ads for you and your family while you're in the car? Or do you think that this is just creepy?
Man, this shit creepy as hell. Creepy as fuck.
You know, they always say that your phone is listening to you. So this has reached a whole new level of your phone is listening to you. So last night, my family and I watched Back to the Future on DVD. Okay, we didn't stream it, so there was no connection to like an app with the streaming app, which happened to be on my phone that was also on the TV. Like, get on IMDb and look up anybody. I didn't look it up on my phone, but first thing this morning when I got on TikTok, this is the first ad that showed up on my page.
This baby hits 88 miles per hour. You're gonna see some serious...
They're putting Pegasus on people's phones?
Oh, Mexico, and particularly Mexican journalists, it's like you are the #1 victim of having Pegasus on your phone. They got Pegasus from Israel. It doesn't take anything at all. It's literally, I get a message on WhatsApp. If I just press on that contact that sent me the message, Pegasus is now in my phone. And they have access to everything, all of the data, even the metadata that's in my phone, and can track me, can listen in to me, everything. Just recently, actually, the Mexican president's phone was hacked. It was a phone that she said she never used. But if you're able to hack the president's phone, anyone is at risk.
Who are they deploying all this stuff against? Is it cartel on cartel for the most part?
It's anyone that threatens their operations. Politicians, law enforcement, sometimes people who are working for them. Stay Frosty put some Pegasus on his phone.
I don't give a damn about what happens to my data. This tweet is blowing up online. And it's actually a sentiment shared by a lot of people. I have nothing to hide and data just leads to more targeted ads. So what's wrong with that? It's not so much about the data that you willingly share, your location, interests. It's also about the things you aren't intentionally sharing. Your IQ level, your self-esteem, relationship status, sexual interests, emotional well-being, your family relationships. Every single thing you do online. The websites you visit, the speed you type, the amount of spelling errors you make, how long it takes you to read a page. If you check your bank account balance before you go and buy something, build a manual of your life and who you are. And combined with the data of millions of others used to nudge you and persuade you in ways you don't realize and impact the opportunities you get and don't get. For example, insurance companies buy a lot of this data. Universities do, which impacts admissions. Types of job opportunities you may or may not get shown online. Or mortgage rates. The more data companies have on us, the greater the risk of harm in the event of a data leak. Don't confuse not having any secrets with the need for privacy.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
Meta's building a $10 billion AI data center in Louisiana, and it will be the largest data center in the world. The new AI campus will occupy 4 million square feet on 2,250 acres. The location is a former mega farm, and this is the first rendering of what it will actually look like. The facility will incorporate cutting-edge technology and supercomputers to help handle the demand for AI. And there's a real need for these AI facilities to be built. The U.S. Commerce Department said there's not enough data centers in the U.S. to meet the rising demand for AI, which is projected to grow 9% each year through the year 2030. But that's why Meta's not the only one doing this. Elon Musk's startup xAI is expanding its supercomputer project in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, this is only a quarter of the size of Meta's mega 4 million square foot facility, but there's a ton of competition. NVIDIA, Dell, and Supermicro Computers have all announced building AI data centers in Memphis, Tennessee to be a part of the AI race. And this is great for these local economies because it forces these corporations to dump money into their communities. For example, Meta pledged $200 million for road and water infrastructure improvements to the local economy. Even though the project isn't scheduled to be finished till 2030, you're about to see a bunch of these AI facilities pop up all over the world.
New world.
It does feel like a determined government can spy on anybody it wants to. That's the way it feels to me. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think the biggest risk for personal privacy is the ability of any state actor to penetrate the device of the person, the mobile device, for example, because there are so-called zero-day vulnerabilities on iOS or Android phones, for example, that the governments sometimes know about and the secret agencies know about and they can exploit them, but everybody else doesn't know and they can't defend from themselves from them. So if you became a target of a government, it's really likely that they would install this Trojan, so-called Trojan called Pegasus on your device. And I was one of these people 8 years ago that had a Pegasus installed on their phones, according to the leaked reports.
Been there.
Been there. Be careful. All right, guys, that was another TikTok compilation, man. Hey, you made it this far. Make sure you drop real one for real. Make sure you put that. They spying on us, and they've been spying. I don't understand why they don't have laws and stuff in place to protect this type of stuff. And like, when they find out somebody breached stuff, they don't even have to pay out that much money. Like, I don't know. This stuff is just all wild to me. It's a new world we going into where it's the wild, wild west right now. You know what I'm saying? So make sure y'all being safe out there. You already know, man, if you made it this far, you a real one for real. Till next time. Self-love and positivity. Fire Squad, I got you. You know it.